Hey, travelers. We get a lot of questions on home insurance and travel medical insurance for slow travelers. Our insurance needs are quite different than those taking 1 or 2 week vacations. When you're traveling for months at a time, you need medical insurance that will cover you for the duration you're away. And when you're traveling for longer periods, the risk that you're going to need to use your travel insurance increases. And if you keep a home base, you'll also need to consider what kind of home insurance you need if you're leaving your home for extended time periods. The home and travel medical insurance you had before you started slow traveling might no longer work for you. So, in today's video, we want to cover some things to consider and some things to look out for when you're buying home and travel medical insurance to support your slow travel lifestyle. Today's video is broken up into 3 categories. We're going to cover general things slow travelers should look for in both their home and travel medical insurance coverage. Then we're going to talk about specifics for both travel medical insurance and the specifics for home insurance. These lists are just based on our experiences in our years of slow travel, but we're not insurance experts and these lists are by no means exhaustive. We're just sharing a few things we've learned over our years of slow travel. If you have other tips or other info, please share them with everyone in the comments. Let's start off with some general tips that you should consider as a slow traveler when you're purchasing your home insurance and your travel medical insurance. And the first is that a lot of insurance companies have really short periods for the amount of time that you're allowed to be away. Home insurance may limit your coverage after being away for just a few days. Chris and I once had a policy that limited our home's coverage after we were away for just 24 hours. And travel medical insurance often only covers you for up to 30 days of travel. If you rely on your credit card to provide you with your travel insurance coverage, then it might not work for you while you're slow traveling for months at a time, as credit cards often limit their coverage to travels of 30 days or even less. A lot of people like to say things like, oh, I just use my travel insurance on my credit card. And that might be fine for them, but it might not work for you anymore as a slow traveler. I mentioned that Chris and I once had a policy that limited our home's coverage if we were away for more than 24 hours, which is just ridiculous. But also, when we first bought the policy, it was actually better than that. Then, 1 year on renewal, we got a notice saying our policy wording had changed. Now, we get policy wording change notices almost every year, but usually it's something like your jewelry limit is now $8,000 or something that I don't really care about because I don't keep expensive stuff like that anyways. But that particular year, when it said that our policy wording had changed, I looked more closely and I found that it said it wouldn't cover water damage in our condo if we were away for more than 24 hours. I called our insurance company right away, thinking that maybe there had been some kind of mistake, that I had misunderstood the wording, but they said I hadn't. I then further clarified. I said, well, what if we get somebody in every day to check on our place? Would we then be covered? And they said no. They said that if we were away for more than 24 hours, even if we had somebody coming in to check on our place every day, that we would not be covered if there was water damage. So obviously, we started looking for a new insurance policy right away. The purpose of my story here is to point out that just because you had good coverage in the past doesn't mean the policy wording won't change on you in the future. So my second tip is to always check your policy wording every year. This might sound incredibly boring, and it is, but I highly recommend that you read through the fine print of your policy wording every single time you renew your policy. If you think you're going to get bored, then I recommend reading through a few paragraphs at a time, taking a break, and then coming back to it, because it's really important that you understand what your policy covers. My next tip is about being honest. Do not lie about what you need covered or try and hide certain things. If you ever have a claim, especially a bigger one, your insurance company is going to try and dig up any reason not to cover you. So it's really important to be upfront about what your needs are and what your situation is when you're buying your insurance policy. And be careful about listing all the medications and dosages you're taking if you're asked to provide that info. And if your medications change, even by just a small dosage, make sure the change is recorded on your policy and you understand the implications to your coverage. There was a family in Saskatchewan, Canada, that was left with a very large healthcare bill. because they made a mistake and they didn't disclose that their cholesterol medication dosage had changed from 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams. Because of that dosage change, when the person had a stroke, the insurance company used that as leverage to say that they didn't have to cover any of their medical expenses. Insurance companies might not request a physical, but be sure to disclose any known factors like high cholesterol or blood pressure and understand how they may impact your coverage. So be honest, report what you're doing accurately, and keep it up to date. It might mean that some insurance companies won't cover you, so you might need to shop around. Or it might mean that you'll have to pay more. But you're buying insurance for a reason, so make sure that you have the coverage that you think you do. Even if you buy the right insurance and the policy is perfect for you, there are still lots of insurance companies out there that will try to deny coverage and not give you the reimbursements you're eligible for. Do your best to look through reviews and try and find reputable, well-known insurance companies. Don't rely on influencers or people on the internet who are getting paid to promote certain types of insurance products. Try to find people who've made larger claims and see what their success rate was and what their experience was. With slow travel, especially for travel insurance, there are options to buy from insurance companies in countries all over the world, not just your country of residence. Be aware when you're buying insurance from countries other than your home country that the insurance standards might be different, and that if you have a claim, even a legitimate one, that they might not be upheld to the same legal standards that you're used to. It's really tempting when you see a policy that seems like a great deal, but make sure that you look into who's offering that coverage and if people have had successful large claims with them. So those are some general items to look out for when buying insurance to cover your slow travel lifestyle. Now let's talk about a couple of things to look out for when buying travel medical insurance specifically. The travel medical insurance you used to use for 1 or 2 week vacations probably won't cover you anymore. You'll likely need medical insurance designed for slow travelers. Chris and I buy multi-trip travel insurance that allows us to travel to many countries for months at a time. But I talked before about the importance of reading the fine print, and that's really important here. Some travel insurance won't cover you if you travel to certain countries. For example, the medical insurance that Chris and I have doesn't cover us if we travel to a country or a region that's been deemed a high-risk area by the Canadian government. This includes war zones, which we try to avoid anyways, but it can also include countries that are normally really touristy but are currently experiencing a bit of a disruption. For example, 2 years ago, Peru was going through some protests that caused the Canadian government to put an avoid non-essential travel warning on the area. Chris and I were planning to go to Peru around that time, but we couldn't enter the country without voiding our medical insurance policy. So we hung out in Ecuador for a little while, waiting for the Canadian government to reduce Peru's travel risk. Once it was brought back down to exercise high degree of caution, we then crossed into Peru. Travel medical insurance also often has limitations on activities like scuba diving, high altitude hiking, and other more extreme sports. So make sure you understand what your coverage is and how that may limit some of the activities you want to do. And also understand how you might get coverage if you are in those activities and you do need some help. Like, for example, if you need a helicopter evac when you're hiking through the Andes. Now let's switch over into some specifics for home insurance for slow travelers. If you do keep a home base like we do, then your home may be unoccupied or rented out for part of the year. Or maybe you have a house sitter or a friend staying at your place. Regardless, you aren't going to be in your house and the usage might be changing, which could impact your coverage. So make sure you discuss that with your insurance agent before you leave and then adjust your policy accordingly. And again, look through the fine print of how your home needs to be prepared before you leave. Depending on your home type and where it's located, there can be all kinds of rules. Maybe you have to turn your water off, or maybe you need to take precautions so that your pipes don't freeze, or maybe you have to have somebody checking in on your home regularly. Whatever it is, make sure that you're doing it so that you can keep your home policy coverage active. Buying insurance can take a bit of time. Every slow traveler has a different situation. Just because a policy works for one traveler doesn't mean it will work for the next. We highly recommend taking the time to shop around, understand your policy wordings, and evaluate it against your needs. Don't just copy and buy the same policy that somebody else bought because their needs might be really different than yours. We hope this video helped you with some ideas and some things to consider when you're buying home insurance and travel medical coverage. That's all we have for you today, and we'll see you in our next video.